Today is 25 years since I was cancer-free. It makes you think about having 25 years that you may not have had. It's making me think about the next 25 years and how I want to spend those, if I get them, of course, because there's no guarantee. Hi, I'm Jill, and this is actually day 2 of my year for me that I'm doing. It just happens to be my 25th anniversary of when I was cancer-free, which was from a second operation. This isn't a cancer story as such, it's just reflecting on life really. And for most people that have had cancer, they'll know that it kind of changes you and it changes your perspective on life. I was 33 when I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. The doctors told me it was not likely cancer. Going into the first operation, I didn't actually know it was cancer. I had to have the operation and then basically find out afterwards from the biopsy. Of course, it was a big shock 10 days later finding out that it was actually cancer, thinking that it was all over after the operation, and then having to go through 6 lots of chemotherapy as a preventative measure in case there were any cancer cells left. It was not something that you really wanted to go through, but you do whatever you have to do. After the chemotherapy, thinking that it was all good and going for a checkup a couple of months later and finding out that it was actually on the other side, which meant that 10 days later I was back in hospital having a second operation. That was the low point, because it was like 3 times I thought it was all over and then it wasn't. And anyone who's had cancer will understand the highs and lows of it, thinking that everything's okay and then it's not. Like I say, this is not really a cancer story. The anniversary of it has made me reflect on how precious life is, how important it is to actually live and to actually live how you want to live. As it's day 2 of my year for me, it's quite appropriate that I would be thinking like that. And I have been thinking about how I want to spend the rest of my life and the next 25 years or more, hopefully. I don't want to spend it being stressed, sad and miserable all the time, even though, there is sadness in me that will never go away. I don't want that to completely overshadow the rest of my life. I want to do so many things. It is almost like when you get to a certain age, it's not that you don't want to improve yourself. I still want to improve myself, but it's more a question of becoming myself again after losing myself. And I feel like I'm finding myself again. 25 years ago, when I was laying in that hospital bed, I didn't know what the future would hold, or if there was going to be much of a future. And it did change my future. At that time, I didn't think 25 years later, I will be in a position again where I really don't know what the future holds. In a position where I feel so uncertain about everything. The next year, I want to basically go from chaos in my life to clarity, to try to work out what I actually want for the rest of my life. Not because I'm going to do one thing for the rest of my life, because I want to do lots and lots of things, just to get clarity on a kind of direction in my life. Although I feel really uncertain about the future, I feel uncertain about the next year, I feel uncertain about the next 25 years or the next decade, but I do feel hopeful that I can turn things around, that I can actually make something of my life for the rest of my life. It feels like this is a time for me to actually be myself. It's kind of like you get buried under the rubble of life and you have to dig yourself out to try to rebuild something new. Anyway, if any of you are in an uncertain situation, just keep the faith in yourself that you can get through it. If you're still here, Thanks very much. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Take care.